Hey everybody, welcome to the Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike, today with my co-host Joe, you'll see, and the return of Michael Benavente.
Michael,
Joe, how are we doing? Hey, I just want to point out real quick, Michael, this is kind of a little bit of an occasion to celebrate. This is the 10th appearance that you have now made on the show.
Really?
10 times already that you've been with us, yeah.
It seems like a lot more.
I was gonna say, huh?
Yeah.
10th
time. Yep.
10th time.
I went back and counted.
It feels like the 20th time. Sorry.
He's old hat at this.
I don't know, Joe. Is that a compliment? Is that he's regretting it? I don't know how to take that one. This might be the 10th and final time that he's on.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary to us.
There it is.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I know we didn't do the drinking thing yet, but it
Not
seems
yet,
like
no.
it's time
You can get started. It's all right.
Joe, you're not ready. You're not prepared.
Well, give me a second. I'll catch up.
He's preparing now, yeah. And hey, it's no surprise that we always record a week before these episodes come out. It is Cinco de Mayo today, which is why I'm wearing my spicy shirt. Well, what you can't see is my mariachi and taco socks that I'm wearing. So I'm celebrating in style.
Thank God.
I don't think the world is ready for the mariachi socks.
The world is not ready to see me have to contort myself in a way that would require to show my mariachi socks. That's not happening.
That too.
You're not as bendy as you used to be.
Definitely not. No. So if I can, if it hasn't already happened, I'll do some mariachi music for this week's intro. Really, really confuse everybody.
Oh, well, if I can make a request then in favor of Bulova being a New York brand, could we have Mariachi El Bronx, please?
Mariachi El Bronx. I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
That might be copyrighted through YouTube, though.
It might be.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, let's start off with Michael's favorite part. Let's get to the drinks. Who's drinking what?
I'm going to go and
say,
today I am drinking a Tuscan Red with a Sangiovese grape. So a little Italian red wine today. It's raining here in the New York metro area, so I felt like it was right to have some red wine.
I'm a fan of the Sangiovese.
All right.
There are fantastic varietals that you can get out of Santa Barbara and out of Central Coast, and that's an excellent choice.
And while we're on you, what are you wearing?
Because of the subject matter at hand today, I thought it would be appropriate to wear one of our newest Mark Anthony watches that we just debuted, I guess, about a couple of months.
Yeah, that was my favorite of the lot. Yeah.
Was it in January?
Yeah, January, February. I'm losing track.
February, yeah.
I can't believe that we're recording this at the end of May 2024 already.
Isn't that something?
I know, right?
What happened? I don't know what happened.
It flew by. It really did.
It's really stupid.
But yeah, that one, that blue and orange, that one's my favorite of the bunch. I agree. I think that's
like
real cool looking. Yeah. All right, Joseph, what do you got? What did you just pour?
I have on my Bulova Super Seville, sort of a date just-ish with a lovely, lovely blue sunburst dial with gold indices.
Oh, that's a beauty. I love that dial.
Yeah. It's one. I did this watch. We did a one month wear one watch, and that was one I chose at the time. It's like, and it works. It works as a kind of a do anything watch. It's fantastic. The size is good. It takes bracelets and straps really well. I'm set. And in the glass is what is it? Devil Creek Distillery rye from right around Central Coast or Central California, Mammoth area.
Very nice. Cheers.
With a big rock.
Joe, speaking of big rocks, do you ever use your stones?
Excuse me?
Thank you.
What was it? Christmas 2 years ago, I gave Joe a bourbon set with some glasses and what was it? An ice pick and some marble stones.
Whiskey stones, different type of mineral.
Yeah.
Yes, I have them in the freezer, but I'm looking for the longevity of the drink and a little bit of dilution so that I'll be able to function tomorrow.
Okay. All right, we'll go with that.
There.
I've
And
never heard you complain about alcohol before, but we'll go with you
oh,
diluting
this
your
it's not a
stuff.
complaint. It's a feature.
It's marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think is
There,
what.
right?
I guess, yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Your turn, sir.
I'll bring up the rear. It wouldn't be Cinco de Mayo if I wasn't drinking a Mexican beer, so I got a Corona long neck. And on the wrist, I'm wearing 1972. I can get it off here. This is the Jetstar D.
Mm.
This is with the rarer red and white handset, red seconds hand. So this was a 1 year only handset for this watch. This one also has the protruding crown, not the sunken crown that the 73 version has. Um, this one is part of the spare Jetstar collection that I have amassed, and I'm letting go of some of those watches. I don't need two full sets. A couple have already been sold. A lot are available. A couple I'm hanging on to. This is one of the ones I'm hanging on to just in case I might need it to display down the line for no particular reason at all. But you never know. So that's what I got.
It's a cool watch. I always love that. That's one of my favorites.
This is
Yeah.
not this one, but the other version of the D with the blue handset is
Yeah.
the one that started the whole Jetstar obsession for me. That was the very first one. So yeah, this one holds a place near and dear to me.
Why am I
So
staring
yeah,
at why am I staring at a Movado sign?
Movado sign.
Yeah, what's that down there behind you? It says Movado. Does it not? That was in my mind.
Oh, down here.
Yeah. What is
It's
that?
a box. It's a box.
Yeah.
It's
Why do we have that, Joe?
Yeah.
This is the box that my museum came in.
Oh, okay.
That's Mike's dress piece. When he has to feel all fancy, he throws on a museum watch.
Can we see it? Is it in the box?
No, it's not. It's in the case in the other room. This is just the box for display here. But it's your traditional black dial lizard strap museum with the
Oh, okay. With the classic. The
Uh-huh.
classic.
yeah.
The classic, yeah.
I have one of those.
And that was
Yep.
you were with Movado for a biscuit
That
there.
was my early career. Yeah. That was I would say that was my first job in the watch industry was at Movado. Yep. I have
Well,
that.
Mike busts that one out for special occasions, and it's a good looking watch. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm all right with
it's the classic dress watch look. It's a little more difficult to tell time on, but it's not really there for exact timekeeping. It's a nice dressy piece that just casually, keeps you on the clock, and it's great. I wear it a lot of times when I dress up. It's really my go-to. So I love
Anytime
having
he
it.
has to wear a shirt with buttons.
Generally, yeah. Anything that requires a jacket.
It requires a jacket.
Yeah.
Band.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of casualness in Florida,
Yeah,
I guess.
So Michael, we reached out to you last minute just the other day and said, "Hey, are you available by chance? I know you got a lot of stuff going on, and just figured I'd extend the invitation to bring you on." And you said, "Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem." Okay, what do you want to discuss? Kind of wanted to let you talk about something, as every time it's always, what our agenda is. And I wanted to kind of let you talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about for a change. And you had made a couple of suggestions, one of which was Watches and Wonders 2024, because you were in attendance for that show. And you also wanted to talk collaborations, Bulova collaborations, which is why you're wearing that Mark Anthony watch. So that's kind of what we're discussing today. I suppose let's start with Watches and Wonders. So Bulova wasn't there, Accutron wasn't there, Citizen wasn't there, but you do have some other companies that fall under the Citizen umbrella, Alpina and Frederic Constant and Arnold and Son. Those three brands fall under the Citizen umbrella, but you were there mostly for who?
Frederic Constant and Alpina. I mean, those are the two brands that we manage out of the New York office. We don't manage directly the other Arnold and Son currently, but you know, we had a lot of retailers there. We had a lot of distributors there from our side of the world. So we were there to meet with them and show them pretty much everything new for 2024. Because pretty much I would say Frederic Constant and Alpina, they kind of roll and show everything at one time. It's now at this Watches and Wonders show beginning of the year, and then the product, you know, the newness comes in, you know, throughout the year, you know, from that point. So it was a great show. Very busy, a lot of customers from North America, South America, Caribbean, and I would say the mood from them was very positive. So I think the watch year was a good year, you know, this previous year, and now as we're already almost in the middle of 24 somehow, everyone's still, you know, still feeling positive and doing business. So I would say that's a positive thing for the industry and for future development, because obviously from a watch company standpoint, everybody wants to feel good about it and invest money in more development, you know, for future projects. So all good. I'm here to report all good.
So for a show like that, and I'm not talking necessarily about, you know, what was the reports have been fantastic. There were lots of interesting releases. There were lots of interesting watches, but talking about just sort of the nuts and bolts of getting to a show like that, you've got to develop a booth, you've got to rent the space, you've got to bring over all your people. It's like, just logistically, that's kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, and expensive. All of what you just listed is really expensive, and so I would say, comparing the old Basel world, for those who may not know, which was the previous very large watch fair that was international, same as is Watches and Wonders, but it was based in Basel, Switzerland. That show was a bit more complicated in the sense that all brands really had to build very expensive booths and showrooms, let's say, for basically a week, 7 days. The one good thing about Watches and Wonders is that they're really delivering kind of the box for you. And so, yes, you still have to customize the inside of the box, but a lot of the cost is kind of taken out of where you normally would have had to invest, you know, big money, you know, in just building out a booth. So,
if I can get a little geeky with you, the delivery of that is, so are you guys holding on to the booth, or are you storing that there to use next year, or will that same booth travel to, say, like Couture in Vegas or any of the other domestic shows?
No, that is very specific to Watches and Wonders, and actually the organizers of Watches and Wonders, that's their booth. So
okay,
that's what I was saying. The furniture or the customization is with the brand, but the outside build out, all of that is part of Watches and Wonders. So they take it away, and it's done in a very big exhibition center, a convention center, if you will. So it has to get cleared out because there's another convention coming to town, right? Like kind of like a rock concert, you know?
Right.
Got to move the rock concert out for the next concert, or hockey game or basketball. It's coming to the arena. It's almost the same concept.
Okay. Interesting. It's because I've been to a few of the big industry events surrounding the music industry and seeing the booths and the variations that can happen. And I know that they have to transport those, they have to move them around. So I was wondering if it was a similar thing or not.
It is. Now, previously in Basel World, there was one of the exhibition centers that had been expressly built for the watch show. And so I would say the last 7 years of Basel World, there were a lot of booths that did not get deconstructed because that exhibition hall was only used, if you can imagine, once a year for something.
Which is part of the reason why Basel's no longer there, right? In the same fashion.
The cost got to it. I mean, the cost got at me.
Yeah. So what is the exciting and new things that are going to be coming from other groups underneath the umbrella? There was the second collab with the Frederic Constant. That's a really fun watch. That was really neat to see.
Yeah, that was limited. I mean, that was a really tight, that was really a tight release. They're already sold out.
Oh, I'm
Those
sure.
are, they weren't even really, let's say, part of the new year rollout, because they had already, there were some samples there, but they were already sold. But I mean, I would say for Frederick Constant, which was what was really exciting was, I mean, the continuation of their manufacture movement, which is now up to 33 manufactured in-house movements that they make in Geneva. So this
Wow.
is not a module, right? This is not a Solita module. No, there is some stuff that happens like that as well, but the 33 manufactured movements are designed, built, and assembled in-house. So there's not many houses in Switzerland that are doing that kind of work. And so I think that's real exciting to see that work continue. I love, there's certain watches I love. The Big Date is a really beautiful watch. That kind of came out last year already, but they did a malachite dial version. Malachite or precious gemstone dials were really the rage at Watches and Wonders. I'd say that's a big trend. You guys have already started to see that roll out, from other watch brands. I would say also another trend that came out of the show was, again, more color, but not so bright this year. This year, a little bit more muted. So everything tended to be more muted color, but still color. Green still all over the place, a lot of green. Always blue, of course.
We were just talking about like what would be the color for 2024, and it seems like that pistachio
Light
subdued
greens.
light greens are popping up a lot in different brands.
Yeah, you're gonna see things like beige, like tans, like muted tan colors coming. Everything muted though, nothing like really bright. Last year we had a lot of bright stuff. This year will be definitely a bit more muted. We also, continuing the experimentation with different materials for cases and bracelets. I saw a lot of that from a lot of different players. But yeah, I mean, I'd say it was a solid show. Not a lot of groundbreaking, new things. I mean, I thought it was quite funny and ironic that the first new product introduction from Rolex on day one was a 50 millimeter solid 18 karat gold diver.
Of course. Because when I think dive watches, that's what I think. Always. 50 millimeters, perfect. Solid gold, also perfect.
I said to someone, because I was just reading it, like it would just come out at the show, and I was like, I love them. I said, they're so great. They can just do that,
And you can't buy one. It's sold out. And it's gonna be retailing for twice. Oh, sure. Yeah.
While everyone else is going 36 millimeter, 37 millimeter,
right.
Here we go. Bang, 50 millimeter diver, solid 18 karat gold.
They just copied an Invicta copy of theirs.
Yeah.
Cheers.
The Rolex by Invicta collab.
Right. Let's see what else. Back to FC. Ladies watches. I mean, they really kill with ladies watches. They really have a really strong position in ladies. They introduced a lot of new ladies pieces that were really fun. A lot of carrés. They continued building out their whole carré rectangular collection that they have with some new dials and case sizes. So it was a solid introduction, all saleable, good stuff. And I think the reaction from our clients was very positive.
What about the feedback on Alpina's stuff? Did they come out with is it a new Alpiner? Is it like a 34 or 36 millimeter?
Yeah, they had a really nice GMT with an orange bezel that had a really strong, reaction there. I believe it was, I want to say it was 38 millimeter off the top of my head.
That was my recollection.
Yeah, but really beautiful. It's the Extreme collection. So continue to build out the Extreme collection, which I would say really now today represents what Alpina is about. And they've done a lot of now different variations within extreme, different movements within extreme. It's such a nice brand. It's such a, really solid, it just doesn't have we don't have a lot of distribution for it yet in the US. I mean, we've been chipping away at it. But it's really coming along. So we really expect a lot of good things in the next couple of years from Alpine.
Yeah, maybe this might be a ladies version. I'm looking at the Alpine Extreme Quartz 34 millimeter.
That's probably the ladies.
That's probably the ladies one, yeah. But I mean, I love the way I love the stuff that they're doing with their, quote unquote adventure watches. They look fantastic. I think it's a lot of elements that individually don't do it for me, but when you put them all together, it's a great package that they're coming out with.
The Alpina Extreme I mean, you put it on your wrist, it's really a nice watch, and most of them are under $1,000. So there's a lot of value there for a Swiss made watch, 100 meters at least, sapphire crystal on everything. So, it's a really nicely made watch.
Is it a Solita movement for those?
Yeah.
Solita? Okay.
Yeah. Every time I go into the Citizen Company store, I find myself gravitating towards the Alpina counter. I don't know. I like it. The blue dials that they're doing are fantastic looking.
Yeah. I mean, it's really classic traditional watchmaking, and they do a really, really great job. I mean, they're all in Geneva. I mean, they're all, I mean, literally right in the heart of watchmaking within Geneva. There's literally Rolex down the block. There's Piaget next door. I mean, these guys are in the thick of things. They're really in the thick of things, and they're really doing it. I mean, they're only 36 years old. It's probably, one of the youngest, traditional Swiss watch brands out there at 36 years old. So. Yeah. And I think that's what makes them kind of different and fun too. There's a different perspective. They don't have the weight of having to carry, 300 years of tradition, or whatever. I mean, these guys can really do as they wish.
I know you don't like it when I buy Timexes, Michael. Are you okay if I buy an Alpina?
I'm okay. You can buy Timex if you want. I mean, listen, different country still. Last time Joe and I checked. Of course. Well, we want to keep you in the family, Mike. We don't want to see you, something bad happen to you outside. But if you have to stray, outside, you stray. I mean, what are we gonna do?
Yeah. No, don't worry. There's no Timexes in my future. I'm saving my money because
they make some very nice watches, Time.
They do. Yeah,
they've got some
interesting designs that are going on.
Yes.
Not gonna deny that. They really do.
Yep.
So, any other watches and wonders reportings?
No, I think those were the highlights. I mean, again, like I said, I would say, I guess the fourth bullet would be ladies' watches in general. I mean, outside of the, Frederic Constant, I saw a lot of interesting ladies' watches there. I mean, beautiful things coming out of the big houses like Chanel.
Yeah.
And Cartier had some stunning pieces. Really jewelry that tells time, which both of those brands I just mentioned have always done a really great job of that. So I would say they've stepped it up a notch, and I saw more of it probably this year than I've seen in the past. And I think that's also speaking to women really coming back to watches.
I was going to say, like, do you see that as more of a growth segment in some places? Because I've seen your own marketing. I see that in the advertisement. I see that in the ads that are popping up, and I'm seeing that kind of in general across the industry. And so, do you see that not necessarily like the culmination of a trend? Because it's not something that's brand new. It's been going on for a little while, but there seems to be a bigger push just currently.
It's definitely been like bubbling. I've seen it already for the last 2 years, and again, Gen Z. It's a 20 to 30 years, 20-year-olds to 30-year-old, span generation. And the guys obviously have jumped in there first, and they've been really strong the last 4 or 5 years. But I already started noticing, maybe even 18 months ago, where the significant other of these guys are like, oh, what's going on over here? A little bit like, if you imagine Joe and Mike, your enthusiasm for this category, and whoever is around you, he's going to be like, why are these guys so, why are they so over the edge, on this stuff? And so I think there's been some of that. And I think some of those young ladies are starting to, catch the fever, a bit. And let's face it, I mean, the connected watch, specifically Apple, has, God, it's been 12, 13 years now that, it's been out. And I think the next generation is already starting to push away a bit from that. I think that push away is to go to a traditional watch. And they may not put it down forever, but I think they're going to have more of a balance, like this
We
watch
can
is,
only hope.
no, it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
There's a place for it. Listen, I own one. I mean, but there's a time and place. If you're doing fitness, if you're, active, fine. You have your Movado for when once every 3 years you wear your suit, fine. There's a time and place, for everything.
I find it interesting though that like the idea that the horology is coming back into the ladies space, because for the longest time it's like, okay, pink it and shrink it, but now you're looking at solid movements. It's not a derivation of, it's a development of its own thing. And I think that's speaking to the fact that manufacturers are looking at the women's segment as legitimate. It's not an afterthought purchase. It's like this, let's make this, we'll make specific movements, let's make specific designs, let's make specific considerations. And just for a smaller wrist or someone who wants a smaller watch but with all the same features, all of the same sturdiness, all the same robustness that they get from what would be in a traditional man's piece.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm seeing that across the board though.
No,
I mean, I called out two people specifically, from Watches and Wonders, because I mean, I really saw it there. I mean, I think there's still a lot of brands that are not there, yet. But the ones that are, like, to the example of Cartier and Chanel, I mean, they have a strong base of women anyway, right?
right.
We would say that right off the bat. So I think they're leading the way on some of this.
Well, we can only hope that we go past design and go into actual watchmaking, and that the ladies segment can have the same appeal. Because I know, like, when you go back and you look at, specifically if you're to take a look back at the Bulova pieces from, because there's that start with Bulova as a jeweler, and then really the wristwatch at the time was a lady's watch. And so, okay, it was jewelry, but it did tell the time. And those watches, the movements are phenomenal. They're excellent. They're well made. But that's also, that was what was happening at the time. And so that watch itself is sort of a bit of a misnomer. It's a different thing. But that's part of the tradition that comes in, like, when you start looking at watchmaking in general. So
5 years ago, and certainly I've been with the company now 9 years. We couldn't sell an automatic. We couldn't sell a mechanical ladies watch 9 years ago, when basically sold nothing. I mean, we may have had maybe one or two max. On the men's side, yes, we did sell. Back then, probably about 10% of our business was that. But more and more we're seeing in the last even 12 months, 9 months, an uptick. We're seeing some momentum starting. So it's going to be exciting to see. I mean, again, it's a new generation, and they're looking at things, way differently. This started 10 years ago with vinyl records.
right.
This whole idea of going back, started with vinyl records. And I mean, now I would say vinyl records are solidly in play now. I mean, more and more vinyl records are being sold year over year.
Yeah.
So it's a going back to the past.
Well, so moving past the past and moving kind of into what's going to be necessarily the future. Like the other thing that you wanted to bring up and you want to talk about was sort of the collaborations. And if we talk
hold
about
on. We'll
what
get
you
to
want to go
collaboration.
there,
No, not yet. I want
that was a
to kind of
beautiful segue. You
no.
ruined.
I want to kind of keep in theme with with
Don't cut this
the
out. I like when there's it better
ill
not be cut out.
communication.
Yeah, I love when there's angst between the two of you. It's great. This is what people are tuning in for. They want to see a fight.
There it is.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want Joe to dilute his alcohol.
It's starting to kick in.
I'll refill. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no. To keep in theme, right now going on as we're speaking is
The wind up watch shop.
wind up. Thank you. I drew a blank there. We'll cut that part out. But yeah, wind up San Francisco is going on right now. Kind of geared more towards the collector, the enthusiast, a little bit more hands-on than Watches and Wonders is. But what's the kind of the reportings back to you about that? What kind of feedback are you guys getting from the public for there?
Well, I mean, Worn and Wound, which is the show that just completed this afternoon in San Francisco, they had to move into a new location, much bigger than the previous Worn and Wounds that they did in San Francisco. And they've had a record crowd because obviously now they could actually let more people in. But the enthusiasm for wristwatches is not waning, and it's building. And again, I'll say for the 100th time, it's the young generations. It's Gen Z who is really fueling. You know, I'm a boomer. We had a different attitude towards watches than the kids today do. I mean, for me, I grew up. It was utilitarian. I had to have it. You know, it was like it was a tool watch, right? It was a tool watch. If I needed to be home on time, school on time, work on time, had to have it. I didn't have 100 of these things that are telling me the time. Today, this generation, you know, that's now 20 years old and plus, they don't need this timepiece. They are choosing, you know, so that's different. And they're enthusiastic and they go back and they see not their parents, because their parents may not have such interesting watches, but their grandparents have, you know, amazing watches. And so they get excited about what their grandparents have. So that's all of this gets thrown into that, you know, into the pot, you know, in the mix. And that's what's really coming out, you know, now these years ahead, you know, are going to really, you know, be fueled by this generation and even younger. I mean, we're already even seeing, you know, beyond Gen Z, you know, the 15, 16-year-olds that are behind them, and they're expressing, you know, an interest. So
of the stuff that you guys have there on display, is there one particular style? Is there one watch that people are gravitating towards more? Is there what's popular with your guys' current lineup with what people are you know interested in?
for Bulova, it's classics. Classics.
Is it?
Classics. We are, you know, doing really well with all of our classics, whether it's Surveyor or Sutton, you know, all that rectangular Sutton watch that we have in the automatic and in the quartz ladies. I mean, just blown out. I'm actually out of inventory right now. I don't have it.
Oh, wow. So sad for you.
Yeah, I'm sad.
Too bad.
We're missing a lot of sales.
Good problems to have.
Yeah, well.
So you guys also had that I guess it was the San Francisco edition of the Surveyor with that. It's got the golden gate on the case back and that beautiful sort of logo stuff, the different box for it as well. That's a limited run? Yeah, that one. How many was in that?
To be honest, I don't know how many we kind of I don't know. I don't think we numbered them. I think we basically made up whatever X amount was for the show, and they took them to the show. So whatever's left over, I'm sure we'll sell anyway. So it wasn't very much. So.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like it's a call to action. If you're going to, to the show, then, and you're interested, then you should grab it then, because
This is
otherwise,
the watch for you.
yeah, yeah.
But that's cool, and I think that should be noted that that's and Alex asked for design, which is behind me here. When you guys handed these out as your year-end gift, they kind of hit Instagram and got a great reaction and feedback on them. And people, where can I get these? And how do I want one? And I need this and I need that. And so to kind of integrate him into your pieces, I think that's really cool. And I hope there's going to be others, because I love the artwork that he does in the style that he does it. And to do, special little limited runs of things like that, I think is really cool.
Yeah, he's quickly become a fan favorite, for sure.
Yeah.
And he is doing a couple more projects for us, that are around the 150th.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
So you'll see some more pieces coming out later this year.
It's
yeah.
such a cool case back. I gotta say, like I like the way that the execution on that. I thought that was very, very well done.
Yeah, yeah, and I have a sneaky suspicion that they'll be doing something for Chicago and something for New York.
Huh. Interesting.
I'm
Sneaky.
from Chicago.
I'm just suspicious.
If you had to
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's okay. This is a different segue, because it's something that we brought up, and I want this on record.
I was just going to say, do you want to go there now?
I do. I want to go there. I want it on record. Because so Mike, as you know, is a huge Jetstar fan. This is well documented. I also have the Merlot dial Jetstar, which we decided was claret, but that's fine. Right? The Caesar. Yes. Okay. And I have that, and I think it is a fantastic dial. And there's always the discussion about red as a dial color, because it's so difficult to do and so difficult to do well. Okay. That being said, the Surveyor has a red dial. And it has a red dial with the gold indices on it. And the dials themselves are very, very similar. Similar color, similar construction, similar effect. Which do you prefer?
You can't say both. It's not like, oh, both my children are. Joe will go on record and say that the Surveyor red dial is superior to the Merlot Jetstar dial. I listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Joe's was wrong, because the Jetstar is far better of a color, deeper of a color, more visually pleasing of a color than the Surveyor. Not that there's anything wrong with the Surveyor.
Well,
So we need you to settle. You want to talk about the tension between Joe and I? This is it.
Fantastic. I love it. I'm going to throw another monkey into this wrench.
See, we knew this was going to happen.
There it is.
There is another red watch, which is the Marine Star. And that was actually the first, because it came in the gray IP plated case and bracelet with also a very deep red dial. So I'm just
what Marine Star are you talking about? Is this a new one?
No, it's probably about 2 years old. It's actually done very well. It's been actually really done really nice. Had very good sell through. But anyway,
Joe and I are both confused. I don't think we know.
It's like the orange dial.
It's a bracelet. It's like the orange, and yes, it's like that. It's that family.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, anyway, I'm with you.
I would have to say, and I don't think either one of you are wrong. Yes, that one.
I have seen this one. Yes.
That's really good seller. And that was the first one in a long time, I would say. We didn't have a red dial before that. I would have to give the edge. It's kind of a little bit like if you saw the Kentucky Derby yesterday, or maybe you caught the news. At the end, there was the 3 horses, and one just eked out by a
By,
nose.
by a nose,
I
literally
would
by a
say
nose.
that I would go Jetstar by a nose.
Winning is winning, Joe. Winning is winning.
Oh,
Jetstar by a nose, Joe, but it's so
okay.
close.
It's
So
you know,
close.
I got it. So having had them in person, having and being able to look at them side by side, the Jetstar comes across as it's a bit sportier. It does have the loom on it, but the gold on the Surveyor, it's good. It's really, really good. So you did really
Both.
well on that.
People have to consider both.
They do.
Someone could start up their own red dial collection. They,
See,
have, they could have 3 already.
see,
I'm just going to say we give them 3 ideas to start with.
there you
Yeah.
go.
There you
Look
go.
at us.
Yep. All right. I'm glad you've chosen the right side, though, Michael. We share the same name. We share the same taste in red.
Well,
Welcome.
I have to say to both of you, both watches sell incredibly well. Both watches sell.
And I love the Surveyor. I love the pistachio was my favorite of the 3 colors. Um, but the design as a whole, not having seen it in person, but seeing the photos that Joe has done and hearing him talk about it, and that I think is just, you guys hit that one out of the ballpark. You nailed it.
It's really well done. It's really
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move on now?
You may proceed now, Joseph.
Okay, thank you. I can proceed.
Yes.
So we wanted to talk about we want you also want to talk about collaborations. And so Bulova has a history of collaborations, and it goes back, it's deep. Like if we're looking at, aside from the NASA stuff with all of the module issues and the stuff that went into Space Lab and into different satellites and what else, all the lunar missions, Gemini as well, and stuff that was in the cockpit.
Not to step on you, but those are not even collaborations. I mean, we were supplier. I mean, so we were supplying.
Okay.
I mean,
Fair.
NASA can't do half the stuff they were doing in space without Accutron technology. So that there we were the vendor, we were supplying. So a little bit
different. Fair. Okay, I'll take that. So if we look at what was in the past, so there was the Academy Award watches, and this is in the 30s and 40s, right? Like some of the old Art Deco pieces, or was it later than that?
Academy Awards was
Later than that too.
1949.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say into the 50s.
Yeah, I mean, I think my passion for this subject is that, and again, Joseph Bulova, Artie Bulova, and then all the other, managers, afterwards and during. I mean, they were doing stuff like today we talk about collaboration. Everybody's, collabing and doing mashups and all this stuff, which is fantastic. I love it. We do it too, but these guys were really on the forefront. When you talk about, Miss America 1930, I mean, that project went on for over 30 years where Bulova and the Miss America pageant, and of course we've evolved, and pageants are not what they were, back then, but, back in that moment, and for many, many decades, pageants were a real, event. I mean, every year. I can remember even myself still as a kid, my parents, getting excited, oh, the pageant's gonna, the Miss America, it's a big deal, right? So that, the Academy Awards, NASCAR. I mean, people don't realize that Bulova was the first time partner of NASCAR, which was, many, many years ago.
Until you sent me that, I had no clue.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't realize also is that we were the inventor of the photo timer. And so that was the reason for NASCAR, wanting to be with Bulova, because we had invented the photo timer for, kind of like what happened yesterday,
right.
Then where you had the 3 horses, right up to the end, and you needed a real scientific way to kind of call out who was the winner.
The photo finish, right.
Bulova, invented that in the late 40s. So we were the father of that original photo timer. And yes, there have been other companies, in the early 50s in Switzerland that also then, kind of came out with the same kind of technology. But these are real impactful, collaborations from many years ago. I mean, Christian Dior, which I think you guys, have chatted about in previous Spring Bar podcasts. But the Christian Dior and Bulova, like, wow, French designer, American watch brand. I mean, who would have seen that, way back when? Or Longchamp, another, French designer, and Bulova. And then certainly, we keep going into the 50s. Then we had the Sinatra, which of course we're back with that collaboration now for the last 6 years, and Jackie Gleason. A lot of people forget we were the sponsor of the Jackie Gleason show. Jackie Gleason was a very big star, back then. So these are all things that were happening way before we're talking about these mashups and collaborations today.
So I mean, you go back and you're mentioning all these. There's in more recent memory, there's the Benetton stuff that was done in the 80s and 90s, and then also I think that it wouldn't be wrong to mention the Frank Lloyd Wright as well, to go into that, because and so talk a little bit about when you consider collaboration as a concept. What is that, like a good collaboration? What does a really good collaboration to you look like? How does it develop? What are the elements of that?
Yeah, most important, authenticity. It has to be a genuine connection to the brand. Otherwise, we can't do it. People see right through it. Then it's not legitimate, So the test right from the start is, how is this connected to, if whether it's Bulova or Accutron, because Accutron also has a few collaborations, is how is it beneficial and how is it connected? So in the case of Accutron, when we relaunched in 2020, we went with La Paulina, Estabrook, and Hudson Whiskey. Those were 3 collaborations. Why? Hudson Whiskey, first distiller, since Prohibition in New York State. Obviously, Accutron always being in New York. Estabrook Pens had been the leading American pen manufacturer for decades upon decades. They were the pen of Lincoln and Kennedy and everyone in between, at one time producing almost 200 million pens a year. So big American pen brand, which was also kind of finding a renaissance back in 2020 when we were approached. And lastly, La Paulina cigars. Not many, if any, cigars being made in the United States anymore. So being able to collab with a brand that was, restarted by Bill Paley, grandson to William Paley, who is a legend for starting CBS network. But prior to that, he actually started the La Paulina Cigar Company, and actually sells La Paulina Cigar Company in order to start CBS network. He got the equivalent of what would be today about $300 million when he sold La Paulina to start CBS. So that came full circle. His grandson buys back the intellectual property rights of La Paulina and begins by making, his cigars in Miami 100% Connecticut tobacco, all of it assembled and handmade in Miami. So those 3 collaborations, I hope that answers your question, but they had to be legit, because otherwise, I mean, we could have used any other pen, whiskey, or cigar, but we chose those 3 for those specific reasons.
So when you're talking about that, I know that you've had an ongoing relationship with the Latin Grammys and as well as with Mark Anthony as sort of an outgrowth of the Latin Grammys, perhaps, or I'm not even certain how. Like, is there a correlation between those 2 relationships?
No correlation other than the Latin community, and the outgrowth came from our position and strength within the Latino community. So we have a very long and storied history with the Latino community. There's a very aspirational attitude, from the Latinos and Bulova. And so when we went to Mark, God, it took us almost 5-6 years to really get that done. There was COVID in between, which didn't help. But when we went to Mark, he fully understood, Bulova's impact in his community. Him, being, a very important, musical figure in the Latino culture. So he definitely, for him, it was the same. We both had the same thing in mind. For him, it was authenticity. He said, I can't ever, be involved with a brand that doesn't resonate with my community. And so it is for us. There's plenty of artists out in the world, and certainly many different people email and send us proposals, and we could pick from many who want to partner. But that one is important and legitimate to us. And he's from New York. He's a New York guy. He grew up in Harlem, Spanish Harlem. He used to actually drive around, in his car with his records in the trunk and do radio interviews and radio gigs, and sold his music on the streets in New York when he was early days and a very young guy. So he's a New York guy.
So I mean, just taking what you have on, for example, I know that he was heavily involved in the design. So the dial is specific for his line. The color choices are specific for his line. But the watch itself is Bulova through and through. So when it comes to that kind of development, like how does that conversation go between the two parties? Because you want to make sure that he's got to be happy. He's going to put his name on it. You're going to have to produce it. Where's the rubber meet the road on that?
Yep. So when we first started out on our journey, we met with Mark for a day. We actually met him down in Miami at his office. We had our team went down together. We all met with Mark and his managers, and we just chatted about design aesthetic. I mean, Mark is a very artistic guy, so it really was easy because he has a very high taste level. He's a collector of various different things. So he has an eye to collecting as well. He has a very big watch collection, which I have yet to see all of it. I'm excited for maybe being able to see it one day. He has over 150, I think, watches in his collection. And so it really wasn't that hard with Mark because he had a very specific point of view. And between our designers and Mark, and they actually in the beginning would exchange texts and emails, as we were, culling out the different designs, and everything that is with Mark Anthony, you can be assured, he has weighed in heavily on, and it is a true collaboration in that sense,
So when you're at what point though, is there a bridge too far when it comes to these kind of collaborations? Like we just can't do that. We can't make it that way, or like, but where is the point that is there a point that is like, that might not work? That might be like, when do you have to say no?
We have to suggest. It's not about no.
Okay.
It's about, so we always take the position we're the watchmaker, right? We know about watches. We sell said watches in the commercial marketplace. And so, we try to come from that point of view and say, the collaboration also has to work in terms of be commercially viable, because we're not making watches for a museum. We're making watches so that the public will buy them. So the only time we'll make recommendations will be if we see that we're going down an avenue that maybe would not be saleable, right? Would not be constructive. I mean, we know certain things work and don't work, and so that's the easy stuff. But we've never really, we have a lot of collaborations today. I mean, you mentioned one of them, Frank Lloyd Wright. I think there's respect. Usually we know what they bring to the table. And so we're never going to argue with Frank Lloyd Wright folks about Frank Lloyd Wright's design and which is the most important, and what should be presented and when the anniversaries are and all that. We rely on them to do that, and I think they trust us. Actually, Frank Lloyd Wright's one of our oldest collaborations. It's I think over 28 years old now that we've been together with the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, and so I think there's a trust that does get built over time.
Okay, interesting.
What
So
would you?
what's new? What's coming? What can we look forward to? There's a big anniversary coming.
I thought I would give you guys a little breaking news because I usually like to try to come here with some kind of
It's some kind of a teaser, huh?
and it just happened to work. Timing is perfect on this Tuesday. So this is embargoed until Tuesday. So Mike, you can't release this until Tuesday at midday. Anytime after Tuesday on midday, you can release it.
Perfect.
But this is going out next week, anyways.
Okay. So
So we're well beyond.
time after Tuesday is fine. So
Yeah.
we are releasing on Tuesday. A press release will go out that we are partnering with Team Miami, E1 Sports, E1 Racing. So it is electric boat racing. It is right now this year. It debuted in Saudi Arabia. It's making its way to Venice in 1 week. So if you can imagine these electronic boats that go really fast will be racing in and around the city of Venice, Italy. So I can't imagine, what that's going to look like. Really crazy stuff.
Right.
And although this deal is with E1, which is what it's called, E1 boats, electric boats, Team Miami is owned by Mark Anthony. So
it all comes full circle.
There
Look at
it
that.
is.
a little triangulation. Although this has nothing to do with Mark Anthony per se, this has to do with E1. We are one of the sponsors of the Team Miami racing team. So they will be wearing actually this watch, funny enough. So the two pilots, there's a man and woman. There's Eric and Anna. Eric is the #1 pilot. They call them pilots. And Anna is #2. And they will both be wearing this version of the Mark Anthony watch. And so we're super excited to be getting back into racing. We haven't been into racing in a long time. We're debuting a new collection this summer, also that's called Bulova Racing.
Wow.
Everything is coming together for our whole racing story that we're planning to tell the second half of this year.
So you've kind of been not necessarily teasing the boat end of the motorsports, but you've been posting some auto racing. You guys are sponsoring some kind of is it a South American touring car series, something like that? I'm not quite clear as to what series it is, but you guys have a name on a race car too.
Yes. There is racing coming in our future. There is a annual South American race in Argentina. So our Argentina team has a very strong connection to that race. And so we will be involved as a sponsor in that particular race coming up, I think in August, if I remember. I think it's August. But E1 is like tomorrow. So that's literally Tuesday. So we'll be in Venice. The boat will have Bulova on it, the helmet, the racing gloves. Mark is going to Venice the following week, so he's going to be posting, I'm sure, like crazy about his team. And so there are there's about 10 teams right now, currently. And the other owners of the other teams are people like Rafael Nadal, Tom Brady, some very big names, some very big sports names. So there's going to be a lot of attention. I think amongst all of the owners of the different teams, I think that social media outreach is more than 500 million, some crazy number. So it's this is just kind of starting. This is just kind of building now.
And these
And
are, I'm just Googling it now. These are like, when you're saying boat racing, I'm thinking like deep V cigarette type boats, perhaps the hydroplane boats. These are like hydrofoils.
Oh yeah, it's hardcore.
These are, I don't know how well that comes across, but it's like a hydrofoil type electric boat. That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, dual prop
Yeah.
on the rear. Yeah, single seat. That's gonna be fun.
yeah, no, it's really incredible looking at it. I mean, you'll go online whenever you'll see some of this. You'll see some of the stuff on YouTube on how they race. They're also televised, so they do have they do have television deals throughout the world. They do have a deal also here in the United States, so it is broadcast, and I believe you can watch all of it whenever you want on YouTube as well.
Hmm.
Some of the other owners are also like Steve Aoki, the
Yeah.
DJ, Dieter Drogba. I'm maybe not saying his name right, but he's a soccer player. Sergio Perez, race car driver. So there's over 519 million social media outreach amongst all the owners, which are all very, very high, profile owners. And it
Wow.
really is international. So what's fun is that next year, Team Miami will be hosting. They will be in Miami next May, I believe. Date has not been officially confirmed, but there will be a race that will happen in Miami, and then subsequently there'll be races in Central America, South America. So kind of the Americas will then take over next year in terms of hosting the E1 circuit. It runs very much like Formula One. There's the overarching,
Right.
Formula One, right? There's overarching E1, and then there are the different teams that are sponsored by different owners that make up the whole circuit. So that is the newest, not yet announced collaboration.
That's really cool. The venture into motorsports, I think, is neat and probably something that is coming out of left field for most people, from Bulova, not used to a motorsports line of watches. The stuff that you're talking that will come out later on, will that be adaptations of current line stuff, or are we talking all new models for that?
New. I
Wow.
mean, you know, uh, chronographs, of course, because
There it is.
timekeeping. You need chronographs. But going back to the 60s and 70s, we also had legit, legit space in racing. We were doing North American racing stuff. You'll see some stuff in our archives from Canada. We were also very involved in some of the Canadian motor racing, motorsports stuff. Again, timing and also giving out awards to whoever was the ultimate winner.
Hmm.
We weren't doing F1 or F2. No, I mean that definitely wasn't us. But again, that's not America anyway, right? F1 now is super popular and getting more popular every day in the United States. But I mean, that's a Europe and Asia. It's always been a Europe and Asia thing. And for us, it's always been NASCAR, and we were there as the first partner in NASCAR. So we certainly have the historical legitimacy. Again, to Joe's original question, we wouldn't be doing this unless there was a real, history or lines, to the past in it. But what's cool is all of the watches are not going to be necessarily based on anything that was in the past. A lot of new designs coming for this.
That'll be interesting.
That'll be real interesting. Yeah,
Because
I'm
you
looking forward to
look
that.
at all the classic designs and the classic chronographs that have come out of motorsport forever, and the Bulova line in the late 60s, early 70s had a depth to that. And they're so interesting. They're so iconic designs. And I've got quite a few. Mike's got some. We know we have friends who have most. So it's kind of neat to see that. Okay, let's try to innovate along those lines and see what comes from that. That's a neat idea. That's an exciting time.
And I think it's in the mood. I think the country is in the mood. I just there's a lot of racing. There's a lot of racing stuff going on. More so than I think I've seen in previous years. And I think a lot of that probably driven by F1. Becoming so popular in the last just few years with F1 coming. Miami today.
Yeah.
We're recording this. They're racing in Miami.
They
today.
are.
Vegas. What they've done in the U.S. is a really good job. And so the whole idea about racing is definitely in the forefront.
Interesting. Look at that, just sprinkling little bits
in the way that only he can.
It's it's always fun when Michael comes on. Something new happens.
Otherwise, you guys wouldn't invite me back. So,
well, we would, but it wouldn't be nearly as exciting.
I love the clock behind Joe's head. The bar opens at 5.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And someday I'll fix it. But until now, and that is also a Bulova signed clock, by the way, sir. Just to point out.
No, it's not.
It is? Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I got it.
Oh, look at that.
Right up at 12.
Oh, wow.
See?
Cool.
See? Nobody knew. The subtlety of design, right?
Oh, you guys will have to have Paul Hoffman on once as a guest. Paul Hoffman is the clock guy.
Clocks.
We still make clocks.
Yeah. This is let's see.
People don't talk about clocks.
Not hardly at all.
Really, you know what? Really, they don't. Yeah.
World timer clock.
That's nice.
That's the one from Oliver.
It is one from Oliver.
Show the back of that. That is a interesting movement that's inside of that.
Isn't it? It's like a transistorized movement too, almost.
Kind of like, yeah.
It's a really interesting. It's a really interesting piece. A little bit of world timer in a great little case. Yeah.
I'm going to recommend you have Paul Hoffman on as a guest, and you do a whole episode on clocks.
There it is.
He is probably one of the foremost experts on clocks that I know. I mean, and he's been always in the clock business for a very, very long time. He's worked for various clock companies. You'd have an interesting conversation with him about clocks.
Perfect. There it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Done.
Well, you can't top news like that.
All right.
So I guess this is where we start to wrap it up. Last calls, anybody?
Yes.
Oh.
I have a last call.
Well, you seem very excited about this.
I am. I'm very excited.
Okay.
Well, actually, right. I have two. First one is I went to a party. I was watching the Kentucky Derby, and I'm sitting outside before the race starts, and I have on my mill ships. And random person who I do not know and have not met comes over to me. He's like, "Is that a Bulova mill ships?" I'm like, well, now we can have a conversation. And he was wearing a really nice Brew chronograph, and we were talking about the other random stranger who was possibly wearing a Richard Mille, but we're not certain because he kept pulling his sleeve down over it so nobody would know that it was there, which tends to lend himself towards that.
So that was the Invicta copy. You just didn't want anybody to see that. It said
what? I wasn't going to go ask, but it was nice to have somebody recognize that. I felt it's the first time it's happened to me in the wild at not a watch event. So I was very.
That is what I was going to ask. Is that the first time a random person has come up to you outside of a meetup?
Yes.
To start a conversation about a watch.
Outside of a meetup. But this is my last call. That's just an aside. This is my last call. On the Wrist Check podcast, Michael, there was a mention. It's a quote. I wrote it down.
Oh, God.
Right. The quote was, Bulova is the father, then Accutron would be the son. Okay. So does that make Caravel the Holy Ghost?
No, that makes Caravel the redheaded stepchild.
That'd be Wittenauer. I'm not sure. I want to see how it wraps together.
Well, that makes Caravel just another kid. Another, that's where you're the kids. No, and Wittenauer is not a child. That's
It's not a child.
purchased. That was purchased afterwards.
There
That,
Wittenauer is like the crazy uncle by marriage that comes over and just throws a wrench into the holiday celebrations.
I have to bring up Caravel. We have questions about it, so I wanted to.
we are working on Caravel. We are doing some stuff. I think we should have a Caravel meeting episode, but later in the year. Let's go later.
Okay.
Need a little bit more.
So for everybody asking, Caravel meeting later in the year. Don't worry, you could hear the disgust in Michael's voice when he said we're working on Caravel.
Not discuss. No.
Not discuss, but
my frustration, to be honest, it's my own frustration that it doesn't move fast enough, but that's not anybody's fault. It just there's only so much time,
it's not anybody's fault, and I truly believe that you guys are working on it, and it's just it'll take some time, but just the amount of stuff that you guys have going on everywhere else is just amazing.
Well, and also we've had this discussion before that it's an 18-month window for development and all the way through. So which means that for things that are going to be happening for next year, you're already done. It's there. It's ready to go. You're sitting on it. You're holding on to it. You aren't sharing it with anybody. I get it. We're going to be surprised just like everybody else, but damn it, man.
We're working. We're starting to work on spring 26. Next week, I have meetings on spring 26. I mean, so it's ridiculous.
Never stops.
I'm not gonna lie.
Never stops.
I'm not gonna lie. I have been trying to look for the fall 2024 catalog because they usually do pop up online every so often.
Is it really?
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet. I'm anxious to see.
We haven't printed it yet, so
yeah.
Fall 24 hasn't been printed yet, so
okay, that's why I can't find it. But I am anxious to see. I will tease and say that in other areas, I have caught a glimpse of some stuff or something that is coming out in the near future. You're gonna make me go broke. You're gonna make me go broke because if that is just a hint of what's to come and just the things to get excited about.
A whole new chronograph line, Mike. There's a whole new chronograph line. We have a problem.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I would sell off the rest of that Jetstar collection right away.
There
well, Joe and I were just talking before you joined us, and I was looking at my collection, and then there's about 5 or 6 watches that I think I'm going to move to be able to fill those spaces with something different, just because those ones are kind of getting a little stale in the collection. They really don't get worn very often. So yeah. So if you want a cool Bulova watch, hit me up because I'm going to have some stuff for sale.
That was a shameless plug.
It was.
That was a shameless plug. Yeah. I need to afford some of these things that are coming out. So
get whatever you want.
Yeah.
Should flash as you go into post-production. You should flash your watches for sale.
For sale.
Yeah.
They'll throw them in. It'll be a subliminal messaging. It's gonna be great.
Oh goodness. Well, Michael, again, we appreciate you coming on last minute for one, but always you take the time and you talk about different things with us, and you always bring in that little sprinkling of hope and teasing, and we love it. We eat it up. Our listeners and viewers eat it up, and we always our best episodes are always the one that you're on here. We get the best feedback, we get the most views, and people are always asking for more, and ask him this, and next time ask him that, and ask him this one, and I have one viewer that's always asking for the same thing over and over and over again.
What is that?
I will just answer it with stay tuned.
But what are they asking? Oh,
They're asking, you know. So I'm just going to say stay tuned. Stay tuned.
all right. Well,
So,
I want to say one thing myself, and I don't want to ever take this for granted. And I appreciate the two of you very much. And so I thank you for your passion. You could be doing a lot of other things with this time, and I know that this is something that you love to do. But we're certainly appreciative of your passion and your energy towards this brand or brands, and it doesn't get lost on us, and we don't take it for granted. And I'm speaking for the team that's in the office in New York here, and for all the folks that do end up communicating with you and emailing and reaching out, that you guys know the community, let's call it the community. We are very thankful and we are very appreciative, and we do listen. I hope you guys can all see that we do listen, and we can't always do everything for reasons that we can get into in future episodes from time to time under the heading of the questions. But
mhm.
we appreciate everyone's interest and their patronage, and thank you.
And I don't think that that point is lost on, the community, because in recent episodes we get a lot of, it's nice to see that the company does listen to the collector. It's nice to see that they are doing the things that people are interested in. So I hear that, I see that, they do notice it. They notice you guys, taking a genuine interest in what, the people are talking, and what the interests are and where things are headed, and stuff like that. So it's definitely not going unnoticed. And even the review videos like Joe's Surveyor, we've had some other ones that we've done reviews videos on. I mean, we're getting in not large numbers like some of your other outlets are, but we're, for a small time show like us, we're getting thousands and thousands of views on our review videos. So,
Yeah, the interest is there. When so
yeah.
it says something about the product. It says something about the people. So I think that's a testament to the brand as well.
That's great. That's cool.
So yeah. So whatever you want reviewed, we'd love to. I've yet to really do a review video. I haven't had the chance to do one yet.
Oh, can you hear it? Can you hear just a little bit? It's a little bit. You need to send him something green for the jealousy. It'd be fantastic.
That's something green for the jealousy. Oh, you're funny.
Would recommend that you guys get on the phone with who, Joe, who
Uh-huh.
sent you.
I got it.
Joe's boy. Yeah.
I got it.
I think the two quick call next week, and you guys divvy up the spoils.
There we go. All right. We'll see what we can do.
He's got stuff to give.
Yeah, we're speaking in cryptics here. Everybody's confused as to what we're talking about. So
to be revealed later.
But fall 24 is literally upon us very soon, and so
very soon.
Products, will start dropping. New products will start dropping end of June, July. And go through the fall season. So within the next month or so, it's time for you guys to do some reviews. So
okay, but now hang on, because next year's the year. When does that drop? When do we start seeing the 150th stuff?
Oh, I feel coming soon. Yeah, I feel
right?
With the fall, right?
You're going to see some 150th stuff starting to drop in October of this year. So you'll probably see one item drop right before the holidays, and then we'll pick up again in Q1 calendar year, January, February.
So we've talked all these months about 150th anniversary watches. Will these? I don't think we've ever asked this question, but will they have a special 150th anniversary stamping or case back or something on the dial to designate like this is a special edition anniversary watch?
Yep. They'll be.
Yeah.
They'll have that, and they'll be a lot of these are going to be limited editions anyway, so they'll be numbered pieces.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's really.
What am I gonna have to sell? Oh my god.
I'm
Okay.
telling you, man. I'm telling you,
It's a problem. It's gonna be a problem. All right.
something. You're gonna have to figure it out. Yeah.
All right.
Well, maybe can you sell those cats? Start selling some of those cats off.
I don't know that they're going to be worth that much, but okay, they're not quite as limited edition as some of your pieces, I think.
Well, it only takes a little marketing, Joe. Let's think about
Right, right.
I mean, do you want a cat, Michael? I'll trade you straight up.
I would love Joe's cat, but I am highly allergic to dander. So no cats
well,
and no long-haired dogs. Otherwise, I would be more than happy to trade.
sorry, Joe.
I
tried,
mean, yeah, they got those insulated bags from USPS. I could just throw one in there, under 10 pounds, second day air. I'll poke some holes in it. It'll be I real quick. I can get it real quick. It'll be good.
All right.
And that would be the last time that Michael ever showed on the show. Appeared on here, yep. Oh goodness. Well, Joe.
On that note, Mike, how do they get in touch with us?
This evening, Joe, Michael, and myself, we make up the Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us, thespringbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out, one long word, 120 clicks. Joe.
I am Watch Taylor Youth, EUPH. Michael.
I am at Bulova 150, all one word.
And you changed your Instagram picture recently, not that long ago, within the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, who's this guy? That's a weird, I haven't seen that little profile picture pop up. And I'm like, oh, that's Michael.
The different dial. You threw a different dial.
Different dial that you put on your picture.
Yeah, no, that's the Marine Star Precisionist up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you threw me for a loop there a little bit.
I try to tease Joe as much as possible, so I think about what to put there next.
I appreciate that. It's nice to know I'm having some effect because it's not happening in the classroom. So we're getting some.
I like to fuel his conspiracy theories. So
he's chock full of them.
I have a few.
Oh gosh. Well, Michael, again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Until next time, when we have you back, dispensing more knowledge and information and sprinkling more teasers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.